Welcome to Ghosted by the Machine, the podcast where job seekers break through the noise and the bots. 5 questions, 5 minutes, no filters, and no fluff. Just real stories from the front lines of the job hunt. I'm your host, Mark Lane, and today's guest is Dominic Petrillo from the Philadelphia area, who's currently looking for a role in either hotel management or a sports writer position. Well, Dominic, thank you for joining the show today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for letting me be here, Mark.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what kind of work are you in, what you're looking for, and how long have you been on the job hunt?
Yeah, I've been out of work since 2012 when I went blind. Before that, I was a hotel manager at different areas, including Bally's Casino in Atlantic City. And I was also a car rental agent for a number of years, so I have a lot of customer service experience as well as hotel management and hospitality management experience. After going blind, it took me a while to find anything, and the only thing I could find was some freelance writing, as I knew I always loved sports, so I wanted to get into sports because I figured that was a good way to get my story out because it's more than just being blind. And I was able to pick up a couple of freelance articles and things like that, but it hasn't really panned out very well. So that's why I'd love to be able to stay into the sports writing, which I've done for the past 7 years, doing a few articles a year and things like that, and or also get back into the hotels because I do love the hotel management side of it as well.
So from your perspective, has AI helped or hurt your job search, and why?
No, it's definitely hurt my job search. I've actually been told by people at different companies after I reach out to them because I get auto-rejected. They've told me that the AI doesn't even let my resume or my application go through because it shows that I have a career gap or an employment gap. Because of that gap, even if they see that I have the 12 years of customer service experience, 8 years in a hotel, 6 years at a car rental agency, including 5 years as management, that even though they're only looking for 2 years at a front desk, that I'm still not qualified because it sees the employment gap and says your experience is too far in the past, and it automatically kicks me out before a human even sees it. So I don't even I've applied for more than 2,000 jobs this year, and I've only heard from 3 or 4 of them because they're the only ones that didn't use AI. Whenever AI is used, it automatically sends me an automated rejection response, sometimes within like 10 minutes of sending my application, saying that they've looked through it thoroughly and after careful review, they are going with somebody else just because it automatically gets kicked out by AI.
So what's your secret skill or superpower that doesn't always come through on a resume?
It's the determination and what's happened in my life. I always, college degrees are great, but I feel that real life experience is far better than just sitting in a room somewhere learning in a book. Theoretical is great, but theoretical goes by the wayside when you get out in the real world because nothing's going to ever happen like it does in the book. So you can't just go by strictly what's in the book. You don't know somebody by whether this person has a master's degree, so they're better than this person has a bachelor's degree, or this person has a high school diploma. That's not always the case. They may have the theoretical, but they don't have the real life knowledge. And that's why, even if you look at the Army, if you say this, a lot of people really respect the sergeants more than they do the lieutenants, because the lieutenants, yes, they have a higher rank, but they just got it by going to West Point or going to Citadel or somewhere and going through officer training, where the sergeant had to work their way up all the way from the bottom. So they're the ones that know everything. And I just feel that with the determination that I have, going through everything I've gone through between the blindness, just a year out from a kidney transplant, I had a partial foot amputation. I'm dealing with possible cancer right now. So everything that I'm going through makes me more motivated, more determined, and far better employee and determined to be there than somebody who may have some school knowledge but doesn't have the real life knowledge and determination that they need and have a motivation to be there.
Right. Well, if you could say one honest thing to recruiters or hiring managers right now, what would it be?
Look at the person as a whole. Don't look at what their look at their qualifications, yes, but don't look at just their qualifications. Look at the person. Reach out to everybody that applies if you can. Just, even with a little email or something, just look at the whole person. Don't just get rid of somebody because you don't think they're the best person. They might be the person that you're looking for. The way I like to put it simply is I want them to look past my disability and see my ability.
Well, despite all the challenges, what's keeping you hopeful right now, personally or professionally, as you keep moving forward?
Mine's pretty simple. It's growing up, and for the first 35 years of my life, I knew I had depression. I never knew what it was called because I was never diagnosed, but I always had suicidal thoughts and everything like that. And then once I went blind, I realized that I was basically sabotaging myself with my diabetes, and that's how I ended up going blind, was from diabetes. So once I went blind, I realized to myself, a lot of people thought it would put me over the edge and try suicide, but it didn't. And what it did was make me more positive, because I realized that I've been doing everything I can basically to not be here. I always thought I'd pass away by the time I was 40, and now I just turned 45 last month. So the fact that I'm still here there's a reason for it. It should have killed me, but it didn't. So there has to be a reason. So from then on, I promised myself in November 19th, 2012, when I went blind, that I'd always remain positive no matter what. And there are difficult days, obviously, like everybody has, but I always try and look at yes, there's bad, but always try and find a good in the bad, because there always is one. So I always try and do that. And I have a couple of videos on YouTube that I try and watch or listen to, a few times a month, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But they just keep me focused and keep me there. And I know that I have a true and honest and important story to tell. And the fact that I want to tell that story to help the other Americans, there's 65 million other Americans that are disabled, and they need somebody to be able to be an advocate and somebody for them, that they can see that this person made it, even though they weren't given all the chances that they should have been. They finally persevered and made it through, especially for the kids just getting out of high school, just getting out of college, that don't know in this society what they're going to be able to do, what somebody's going to allow them to do, especially with DEI going by the wayside. I want to show them that if you work hard, even if you're disabled, you'll be able to find somebody willing to give you a chance, and I want them to have that as well, so they don't go through the depression and everything that I went through.
Great message, Dominic. Wonderful. Well, a huge thank you to Dominic for being with us today. If you're hiring or know someone who he should meet, check out his LinkedIn profile, which will be in the show notes. If you want to be on the podcast, email me, DM me, or comment on LinkedIn or any of our social platforms. We're always looking for real voices in this ghost town of job search silence. This is Ghosted by the Machine. Let's make hiring human again. Thank you again, Dominic, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark.